Hello all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Alan, this is Alan Reacts, your little corner of the YouTube world. This is a first reaction because it's a song I don't know. I know about it because I've read it and I'm going to talk about it, what I understand, what I've read of the backdrop to the song. This goes back to when I reacted to at 17, which I think is a beautiful song, which I talked about a peek into a really sort of gentle soul. That's what I picked up from that song. And you guys will know it. I'll put the link in the description if you haven't heard it, if you haven't watched the reaction. Anyway, so we're going to go back. This was released in, well, we'll get into it. Let's hear the song. What's going on there in the opening, guys? I can hear an organ. There's a string there. Not what I expected from a song released in the 60s. This was first released, as you know, you can see it's Society's Child, Baby I'm Thinking, because she wrote it as Baby I've Been Thinking. And from what I remember, was she 14, 15 when she first wrote this? No, 14, 15. I could barely write my name. So, released in 66, but was a slow burner. Very slow burner. And it had a lot of difficulties. She had to took the album to another label, which worked out for her. This is why it's called the Verve Recordings, and I'm taking this from her channel, guys. Go and subscribe. So this is 65. She wrote it. 65 is sort of peak civil rights movement in the US. A lot of history, a lot of politics there, but I think the song might touch on some of that in a more direct way. So let's pull it back. But what was going on there? Was it just organ? What was that string? It feels stringy. It sounded stringy, but I can't tell where the synthesizers were in those days. They would have had Moogs. But yeah, let's pull that back and then we'll hear some of the song, guys.
To my door, baby. Face is clean and shining black as night. My mother went to answer, you know that you look so fine. Now I could understand your tears and your shame. She called you boy instead of your name. When she would...
Oh dear. I know the background to the song, guys, and it has that sort of, this feel to it. It has that kind of, it opens different to what I expect from 60s. It has a little of that sort of mamas and papas feel vocally to it, and there's a pleading in it. But when you look at the lyrics, because that's what I've got on screen, guys, that's what I'm looking at whenever I do these reactions. Come to my door, baby. Face is clean and shining black as night. My mama went to answer. You know that you look so fine. So she's acknowledging that he'd come, this young boyfriend, because this is what it's about, who'd come to see her, was all cleaned up and ready to go, being the perfect young gentleman, which she would have been, because that just makes sense. And she called you boy. And when she wouldn't let, oh. So that hits you. It hits you with the protagonist, her, telling you of a real life story event, hers, about an event that happened, hers. And it's literally that dichotomy between this young man turns up innocent, beautifully innocent, but I don't know what he was expecting. Would he been expecting as a child? Would he been expecting that from an adult? Ugh. Yeah.
Didn't let you inside when she turned and said, but honey, he's not our kind. She says, I can't see you anymore, baby. Can't see you anymore. Walk me down to school, baby. Everybody's acting different in the line.
when you hear it now, it's painfully obvious what the pressure she was feeling. And this was because when she released it, when she first recorded it and then released it, she had to switch labels. I'm sure she did. So this was released in 66 as the Verve recorded. This is our third channel, guys. Go and subscribe. And it was a slow burner, but there was so much resistance in different states to obviously different states, whether that was the South or the North, doesn't matter. We're not going to get into that. This is her story of what was happening. And this is like 66. And it was a slow burner, and it eventually started charting and building up some momentum in 67. I think it reached number 14 on the Billboard, but when it was first released, flat nothing, dead, radio silence, like genuine radio silence. So the same song, Society's Child, is released in 66 from the label that did The Right Thing. And you can hear, again, I talked about this when she did it at 17, there was a little bit of getty backy, but there's no anger in this. It's the song talking for itself. It's her description letting you know what was happening, and you need to make up your own mind. And society needed to make up its own mind then, and still does now. Yeah. You know, walk me down to school, baby. Everybody's acting deaf and blind until they turn and say, why don't you stick to your own kind? So it's like literally the vitriol is there. Now, children can be cruel, and they'll either have their own values or they'll mimic what's going on around them, or it'll be a combination of both, you could argue. But she certainly experienced this. Wow. And does it exist today? Of course it does. Of course it does. I'm not stupid. Whether I believe it's X, Y, or Z, it still exists today. Of course it does. But whether it's enough to write a song about today that's deeply impactful as this is and was, that's a question only you can answer.
My teachers are laughter, smirking stares, cutting deep down in our affairs. Preachers of equality think they believe it, then why won't they just let us be? This
Teachers of equality, preachers of equality, teachers and preachers of equality. This is the time. And they think they believe it, then why won't they just let us be? I don't delve into politics on this musical channel, but when a song is political, it needs to be explored. And my own thoughts and views are, look around you, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen. 2024, it may be different or similar or exact same, but we've still got preachers of equality. Do they believe it? This song's a good challenge. It's a good challenge because it's based in real time, of a time that was real, that was impactful, that was American changing.
See, I can't see you anymore, baby. Can't see you anymore. One of these days I'm gonna stop my listening, gonna raise my head up high. One of these days I'm gonna raise up my glistening wings and fly. But that day will have to wait for a while. Baby, I'm only society's child. When we're older, things may change, but for now, this is the way they must remain. I say I can't see you anymore, baby. Can't see you anymore. No, I don't wanna see you anymore,
Oh, that outro and turnaround, that was final. The song's got sonically so much going on. It's kind of, it has that 60s vocal feel, the rhythm, the cadence, the way she sings. But you can see there's that push through. I'm sure there's some kind of harpsichord going on in there and an organ, but it just mixes and it hits. It hits hard. You can hear it with the vocals hitting hard. Then it softens off. But when you get back to the song, the societal pressure, the judgmental, it's too much for a child to bear. The pressure from school, the pressure from family, the pressure from everywhere. And she says, I can't see you anymore. But maybe when I grow up, maybe my glistening wings and fly. But that day will have to wait for a while. Baby, I'm only society's child. It's that resignation that I'm too young for this. But I'm self-aware enough that when I get older, you can all proverbially do the middle finger, which I don't do lightly. And she did, and she has, and she would go on to do that. But it's kind of a beautiful song in that it's vocally beautiful. She's got a beautiful voice. It's so well crafted musically, so well crafted lyrically. I think, like I said, she did this when she was 14, 15, she wrote this. The engineers in this were stunning. Great song. It sits there with that 17, and this is like 10 years prior to 17. So there's more to record yet. Guys, whatever you think, I'm just commenting on the song. I know it got slightly political because that's what the song is. Not necessarily it's socio-political, but it combines all the elements of that time. And if you know your history, what a time it was to be alive, good or bad or whatever. It was just a time to be alive. I would just only been born and I was never to experience that, but I was to experience racism in the UK as I was growing up. It was just so prevalent in certain areas of the world, but that's not what this song's about. I can attach something to it. Yeah. Loved it. Guys, join in. Let me know. That was really thought-provoking and enjoyable all at once. Take care, everybody.